Your bird can be fighting a serious infection for 3 weeks and still fly to your shoulder every morning, eat from your hand, and call your name from across the room. Most bird owners learn that the hard way, the same way I did, on a Friday when it was already too late. There are 3 signs that appear weeks before a bird looks sick, and not one of them looks like illness. Her name was Pepper. Green Cheek Conure. 7 years ago, she was sitting on my shoulder on a Tuesday morning while I drank my coffee, the same as she had done every morning for 4 years. She was eating. She was making noise. She was doing the thing she always did where she climbed up to my ear and tried to chew my earlobe off. Normal. Everything looked normal. I noticed she was fluffed up a little and I thought the kitchen was cold, so I moved her closer to the window where the sun was coming through the glass. She perked up slightly. I went to work. By Thursday evening, she was sitting low on her perch and not eating. I called the vet first thing Friday morning. She died before the appointment. The vet confirmed she had been fighting a respiratory infection for at least 3 weeks, probably longer. She had been hiding it from me every single morning while I sat there drinking my coffee because that is what birds do. That is what they are built to do. And I had no idea what I was looking at. I knew the signs for a dog. I knew the signs for a cat. I had kept birds for 4 years, and I knew almost nothing about how to read one. I have spent the 7 years since then learning how to do exactly that, not how to treat illness. That is a vet's job, and I am not going to pretend otherwise. What I learned is how to see the window. There is a window, sometimes 2 or 3 weeks wide, where early illness is visible in a bird that still looks completely healthy to the untrained eye. The bird is eating. The bird is talking. The bird is engaging with you. And underneath all of that, the illness is running. If you know where to look, you can see it. If you don't, you miss it. And the thing about that window is that once it closes, it does not reopen the same way. What comes after it is a crisis, and crises in birds are different from crises in other animals. They move fast, and they are expensive, and they do not always resolve the way you need them to. Most bird owners I talk to have the same story I had. They watched something and thought it was nothing. They Googled a symptom and found a forum post that said it was probably fine and felt reassured and moved on. I am not criticizing that. It is what people do when they have no other framework. But the forum post was not wrong because the person who wrote it was careless. It was wrong because birds are genuinely hard to read, and most of the information that exists about bird illness is written for people who are already in a crisis, not for people who are 3 weeks ahead of one. I want to give you something to use 3 weeks ahead. Quick word before I go further. The old methods my family uses, there is more of it than fits in any one video. I gathered the whole of it into a book you can buy in our pinned comment below. The book is the long version. If you want it, it is there. I will not mention it again. So the question I want you holding right now is this. What does early illness actually look like in a bird that is still eating, still talking, and still flying to your shoulder every morning? Because the answer is not what most people expect. It does not look like illness. It looks like 3 very specific, very small changes in normal behavior. Not dramatic changes, not the kind of thing that makes you pick up the phone immediately. The kind of thing you see and explain away with a reasonable sounding reason and then go about your day. I explained one of those changes away on a Tuesday morning and lost a bird by Friday. Let me show you how to stop doing that. The place to start is understanding why the signs are so subtle in the first place. Birds are prey animals. Everything about how they are built, how they behave, how their instincts fire, is shaped by millions of years of being hunted. A bird in the wild that looks weak looks like a meal. So birds do not look weak. They perform health with a level of effort that is genuinely extraordinary. They eat when eating takes energy they do not have. They vocalize when vocalizing is a cost they cannot comfortably afford. They fly to your shoulder and chew your earlobe because appearing normal is coded into them at a level that runs deeper than their conscious behavior. The illness runs underneath all of that while the body burns through whatever reserves are left to keep the performance going. When the reserves run out, the collapse is fast, not gradual. Fast. A bird that was active and eating on Monday can be on the cage floor by Wednesday morning. That is not the illness arriving suddenly. That is the body giving out. The illness has been there for weeks, only the mask is gone. Understanding that changes how you look at the 3 signs. None of them look like a mask coming off. They are too early for that. They are micro failures in the performance. The body working a little harder than normal to maintain what looks like normal. Once you know what you are looking for, you will see them. Before you know, they are invisible. The first sign is tail bobbing at rest, not after the bird has flown across the room, not when it is excited about a treat or responding to something startling. At rest, the bird has been sitting quietly on its perch for 5 minutes or more. Watch the tail. In a healthy bird, the tail is still. It holds in place. If the tail is moving, even slightly, even in a slow rhythmic motion, up and down, once every few seconds, that bird is working to breathe. What you are watching is the abdominal muscles assisting the respiratory system. Healthy breathing in a bird is invisible. The effort is completely internal. When breathing requires visible muscular effort, and that effort shows up in the tail, something is wrong. It is called respiratory effort, and it is one of the first external signs of respiratory illness in companion birds. Sometimes it is so subtle that it is genuinely difficult to see at normal speed. The trick I use is this. Put your phone camera on the bird for 30 seconds and play the video back at half speed. What disappears in real time becomes obvious when it slows down. I have done this dozens of times, sitting in a quiet room thinking the bird looked fine and watched a clear rhythmic bob emerge in the slow playback that I would have sworn was not there. If you see tail bobbing at rest, you call an avian vet the same day or the next morning at the latest, not in a few days to see how things develop. Respiratory illness in birds responds very well to treatment when it is caught early. It does not always respond when it is caught late. That is the difference between the window being open and the window being closed. The second sign is fluffing during active hours. Birds fluff their feathers to trap warm air close to the body and reduce heat loss. It is normal at night when they sleep. It is normal when the room is cool. It happens briefly sometimes after eating or bathing. All of that is healthy and expected and nothing to worry about. What is not normal is a bird that is fluffed during its regular active window. Mid-morning, early afternoon, the part of the day when the bird is usually engaged, alert, looking for interaction, climbing around its cage, calling out to you from across the room. A bird that is fluffed during that window is telling you it is not maintaining its own temperature the way it should be. Fighting an infection is metabolically expensive. A fever, even a mild one, draws resources from a small body very quickly. Staying warm becomes a cost the bird cannot easily carry, so it fluffs to reduce the cost. Watch for what comes with it. A bird that is fluffed and quiet, that has reduced or stopped the vocalization it normally does during its active period. That combination is significant. One sign alone means watch closely and document. Two signs at the same time means call the vet. The way I track active versus quiet is simple. I keep a short note on my phone for about a week when I first get a bird, and then I update it whenever something feels different. Tuesday morning, 8 o'clock, talking, active, eating from hand. That is the whole note. When the note starts looking different, I have something concrete to describe to a vet instead of just a feeling that something is off. Feelings are easy to dismiss. A week of notes is not. Before you read fluffing as a health sign, rule out the room temperature first. A basic infrared thermometer costs about $15 at any hardware store. Point it at the wall near where the bird usually sits. If the room is 72 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer and the bird is still fluffed during its active window, the cold is not coming from the room. It is coming from inside the bird. The third sign is a grip change. This one is the most subtle of the three, and it is also the one I hear about most often from people who look back after losing a bird and say they felt something was different, but could not name what it was. When a healthy bird steps onto your finger, there is a definite quality to it. The grip is firm and active. The bird adjusts constantly as you move, shifting its weight, rebalancing, leaning into small changes in angle. There is ongoing muscular engagement happening the whole time the bird is on your hand. A bird in early illness holds differently. The grip is looser, more passive. The adjustments are slower or absent. The bird may lean slightly against your hand rather than balance actively on top of it. It does not feel like the bird is about to fall. It feels like the bird is simply less present in what it is doing, less invested, less engaged with the act of balancing on you. This is not the bird being relaxed. Relaxed birds still grip with confidence. This is something else. The trick I have found for learning to read it is simple, and it feels slightly strange the first time, but it works very well. Close your eyes when the bird steps onto your finger. Feel the grip before you look at it. Your hands register pressure and weight and adjustment far more accurately when you are not competing with visual information. Do it every day for a week with a healthy bird, and you will have a felt sense of what normal grip means for your specific bird. Any deviation from that, any loosening, any passivity, any difference in how the bird is distributing its weight on your hand is something to write down and watch for 48 hours. If it is still there after 48 hours, or if it appears alongside either of the other two signs, you call the vet. My rule is simple, and I do not bend it. Any two of the three signs in the same 7-day period means an avian vet appointment with no exceptions and no waiting to see if it gets better. One sign persisting beyond 48 hours means a phone call to describe what I am seeing, even if it does not result in an appointment immediately. 0 signs means I still do the 30 seconds of observation every day, because the only way the signs mean anything is if you know what the baseline looks like and you are checking against it regularly. This is not paranoia. It is the same logic as checking your car's oil before a long drive. You are not expecting to find a problem. You are making sure you would know if there was one. Let me give you the numbers, because I think numbers make this concrete. An avian vet visit with a standard examination and basic blood work runs between $80 and $180 in most places. That visit, when the bird is caught in early illness while it is still strong enough to handle treatment, typically results in an antibiotic prescription, a follow-up appointment, and a bird that recovers. The whole thing costs what one dinner out costs most families. A bird that arrives at the vet in acute respiratory crisis, insignificant oxygen debt, severely dehydrated, past the point where its body can maintain the basics without intervention, requires hospitalization, supplemental oxygen, sometimes intravenous fluids, sometimes force feeding. That visit costs $400 to $1,200, sometimes more, and survival is not guaranteed. I am not telling you this to create anxiety. I am telling you this because the gap between the early visit and the emergency visit is not just a matter of the bird's comfort or suffering. It is a matter of whether treatment is even possible. Birds in early illness are candidates for treatment. Birds in late crisis are sometimes beyond what medicine can do for them in time. Here is what changes when you learn to read these signs and use them every day. You handle your bird. You close your eyes on the finger. You sit with your coffee and watch the tail for 30 seconds before you go to work. You know what your specific bird's active looks like versus its quiet, and you know which one is normal for a Tuesday morning versus a cold afternoon. The bond gets different. You are not just enjoying the bird, you are in a real relationship with it, the kind where you notice things, the kind where a small change registers instead of disappearing into the background of your day. There is something I have heard from people who have kept birds for a long time, who have lost some and learned from the loss. The bird that looks fine at 9 in the morning and looks sick at 3 in the afternoon was already sick at 9. You just did not have the language to read it yet. I am giving you the language now. Use it starting tonight. This is what I want you to do when this video ends. Go sit with your bird in a quiet room. No television, no music, nothing competing for your attention. Give the bird 5 minutes to settle on its perch. Then watch the tail for 30 seconds and record it on your phone if you can. Put your finger out and close your eyes and feel how the bird steps onto your hand. Notice whether the bird is fluffed during a time it is usually alert and moving around. Write down what you saw. 4 words: tail still, grip firm. That is your baseline. Do it again tomorrow. Do it every day for a week, and you will know your bird in a way that most bird owners never get to know theirs. And you will have built the one thing that makes the 3 signs actually useful, which is a reference point. A sign without a baseline is just a behavior. A sign measured against a baseline is information. Tell me in the comments what species you keep and one thing you have ever seen your bird do that made you wonder for a moment if something was wrong. I read every comment and I will tell you what I think. The people who have learned to keep birds well over a long time learn to read them the way good farmers learn to read weather. Not from one lesson, from thousands of mornings of close attention. You can start building that same fluency tonight. Next time, I am going to show you what to put in the bottom of your bird's cage that costs less than $5 and that avian vets have been quietly recommending for 20 years. It gives you a 48-hour early warning for illness that most bird owners have never heard of. It is not food, it is not a toy, and it works in a way that will make you wonder why no one mentioned it sooner. Until then, watch the tail, feel the grip, trust what you notice. Your bird has been communicating with you this whole time. Now you have the language to hear it.